500,000 people are sitting in the direct path of Tuesday's supercell corridor right now. 2,000 joules of storm fuel stacked on 30 to 40 knots of wind shear textbook supercell. The Gulf of Mexico is about to be left wide open for tropical development in early June. Stay with me at the 4-minute mark. I show you the tropical shift getting very concerning. Make it to the end. The summer outlook I have for the Midwest will genuinely surprise you. I want to be honest, when I pulled up this forecast this morning, I had to breathe. Two separate threats are rapidly coming together, and most people are only watching one of them. An Omega block is locking in across the country, and it is about to scramble the forecast completely. Burn this into your memory. The Omega block brings strange weather, not no weather. Let's start with today, Memorial Day, because scattered storms are already active across the country. Strong storms are occurring across the Gulf Coast, Southeast, Plains, Pacific Northwest, and Arizona. Arizona and New Mexico are seeing moisture today, and even the Cascades have higher elevation snow. Eastern Maine is also wet today, so really all four corners of the country are active. The wettest areas today include Mississippi, Alabama, Northwest Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Today is manageable, but tomorrow is the day that really has every forecaster's attention. Drop your city and state in the comments. I come back tonight with your specific forecast breakdown. Texas, Alabama, Florida, Nebraska, Pacific Northwest, wherever you are, I want your city below. Let's go straight to Tuesday because this is the most dangerous day in this entire 7-day window. 500,000 people or more are sitting directly in the middle of Tuesday's severe weather risk. The target zone runs from Midland and Odessa through Andrews, Texas. This is the bullseye. Circle Tuesday 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. on your calendar. That is the most dangerous window. That is the most dangerous time of day for someone who does not know what is coming. Think about Earl, a retired oil worker near Odessa. Tuesday is his most dangerous travel day. Earl has his vehicle undercover before noon Tuesday and his shelter confirmed before dinner. Here's what makes Tuesday so textbook dangerous. Two ingredients that rarely line up this perfectly. 2,000 joules per kilogram of storm energy stacked on 30 to 40 knots of wind shear. That combination is the recipe for discrete supercells, the most dangerous type of storm. Supercells Tuesday will be capable of hen egg-sized hail that is over 2 inches across. Hen egg hail at terminal velocity shatters windshields and can total a vehicle sitting in a driveway. As storms cluster into a line Tuesday evening, wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour become the threat. 60 to 70 miles per hour gusts pull shingles off rooftops and knock out power lines across wide areas. The I-20 corridor from Pecos to Midland and the I-10 south, that is the tornado corridor. Before those storms merge into a line, giant hail and tornadoes are the biggest concern. But here is what models call the actual main event Tuesday, and it is the water. A life-threatening flash flooding threat is taking aim at the Gulf Coast for Tuesday. West Texas from Lubbock through Midland, Abilene, down to San Antonio and Austin are all in the zone. And then from New Orleans northward through Montgomery, Alabama, all the way to Louisville, Kentucky. The flood risk even extends to Charleston, West Virginia and Virginia Beach on the Tuesday-Wednesday window. That is an enormous swath of the country under a marginal excessive rainfall risk at the same time. Now let me talk about the wind threat because the West is dealing with something completely different. Oregon and Northern California are seeing wind gusts over 40 miles per hour on this Memorial Day. Tomorrow, Tuesday, those winds shift east through the Rockies and into the Western Plains. The Nebraska Panhandle could see winds over 30 miles per hour on Tuesday afternoon. By Wednesday, the cutoff low sits over Utah and Arizona, and this is where it gets extreme. Wind gusts over 60 miles per hour are possible in higher elevations of Utah and Arizona Wednesday. 60-mile-per-hour gusts in fire-prone areas mean any spark can become an inferno very quickly. Tell me your city below and I will personally come back with your local 7-day breakdown tonight. Midland, New Orleans, Louisville, Seattle, Denver, every city I want to see in those comments. Now let's talk temperatures because the contrast this week is absolutely remarkable. Across the northern tier into the Dakotas and eastern Montana, mid-90s and record highs today. La Crosse, Wisconsin is approaching record highs in the low 90s this Memorial Day afternoon. This is pool opening week for much of the Midwest and Northern Plains, truly summer-like. Meanwhile, the south and southeast are sitting at or below normal cloudy, humid, and stormy. This is the Omega block at work, roasting the north while the south stays stuck in gray. Think about Margaret, a retired nurse in Birmingham. She has not seen sunshine in 5 days. Margaret is tired of the gray skies, but her soils are soaked and her yard still floods. Margaret's patience will be rewarded. The Omega block has a clock on it, and it will break. Here's the 4-minute moment I promised you, and this part surprised me this morning. When the Omega block breaks later this week, it leaves the Gulf of Mexico wide open. The high pressure that anchors the block will shift east into the Atlantic, and that changes everything. When high pressure moves into the Atlantic, there is nothing left to block tropical development. The Gulf of Mexico has very warm sea surface temperatures right now. Tropical fuel is already there. Energy from the Caribbean and Central America is going to push northward into that open Gulf. That energy could organize into something, and that something has a name if it reaches tropical storm. The American computer model has been consistently showing a tropical storm forming named Arthur. Arthur would be the first named storm of the 2026 hurricane season starting June 1st. If Arthur forms before June 1st, it would be a preseason named storm, a meaningful milestone. The track on the GFS shows Arthur forming near Cuba and the Florida Keys then pushing northeast. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Bahamas could see heavy rain and gusty winds if that track holds. But Bermuda needs to pay very close attention. The northeast track could bring tropical storm conditions. Now here's where I need to give you the honest difference between the two major computer models. The European model has been more conservative. It does not develop a named storm. The European model sees tropical moisture pushing into the Gulf, but without formal organization. When the European and American models disagree on tropical development, you trust the European. The European model has been significantly more accurate on tropical forecasting this season. My personal read is this organized storm or not, heavy rainfall is coming to South Florida. The Florida Keys, Miami, Tampa, and Naples are looking at multi-day heavy rainfall by June 1st. Think about Frank, a retired contractor in Miami. He has already started watching this closely. Frank knows the difference between a model signal and a confirmed forecast, and this one is real. Frank has his storm shutters ready, his generator fueled, and flood insurance current. That is the move. Let me give you the tropical development timeline because the sequence matters a great deal. Through May 29th to 31st, tropical moisture surges northward from the Western Caribbean. June 1st through June 8th is the best window for formation right as hurricane season officially begins. The initial formation area the models are watching is off the southeast coast toward Bermuda. After that, energy shifts back south and west. That is when the Gulf becomes the concern. By June 6th through 8th, whatever energy is left bottles up near Central America and pushes Gulfward. Things in the Gulf can organize very quickly. Warm water and low wind shear do that fast. I personally do not expect a major hurricane, but I am watching this transition very closely. And here is something nobody is talking about yet. What happens after the Omega block breaks? The Omega block suppresses organized severe weather while it is in place. That is actually good. But when the block breaks and the pattern transitions, tornado possibilities return to the plains. I think the June 6th through 8th window is the next best organized severe weather setup. After weeks of mesoscale disorganized days, June 6th could bring the next real outbreak setup. I personally think the June 6th through 8th period deserves a very close watch for severe weather. Now let me give you the total precipitation picture through June 1st because these numbers matter. Heavy rain is expected from Texas through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. That heavy rain zone extends through Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. The Carolinas and Virginia are also in the heavy rainfall zone through the end of May. For the drier areas this week, desert Southwest outside the Four Corners, upper Midwest, Great Lakes. Interior New England will also see drier weather through the rest of May and into June. Turnaround, don't drown. The rainfall totals stacking up through June 1st are significant. Looking ahead to June because the pattern story is actually quite interesting from here. June looks hot and dry across the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia. Summer arrives early. The subtropical jet stays dominant along the Gulf Coast and up the eastern seaboard through June. That means the wet pattern for Texas, Louisiana, and the southeast continues well into June. Timely rains are also expected in the Midwest, but northern Wisconsin, Minnesota, and North Dakota dry. And now here is the summer outlook detail that most people are not tracking yet. The peak derecho season for 2026 is forecast to run from July 15th through August 15th. Red zone residents Midwest, Ohio Valley, Kentucky, Indiana, that is your danger month. Derecho storms produce straight-line wind damage over hundreds of miles in a single event. Mark July 15th through August 15th, that is when the Midwest needs to be heads up. Let me give you the full city breakdown so you know exactly where you stand this week. Midland and Odessa ground zero for Tuesday's supercell corridor, peak threat 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Lubbock inside the flash flooding risk Tuesday to Wednesday, hail threat before storms merge. San Antonio, Austin, and San Angelo inside the flash flooding risk zone through Wednesday. New Orleans and Montgomery flash flooding risk extends from Gulf Coast north through midweek. Louisville and Paducah, Kentucky inside the flood risk corridor through the Tuesday-Wednesday window. Charleston, West Virginia, and Virginia Beach on the eastern edge of the flood risk zone. Birmingham and Nashville wet and below normal temperatures this week, active storms daily. Atlanta and Charlotte active storm threat continuing, 1 to 3 inches additional rainfall possible. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Florida Keys watch closely for heavy rainfall by May 29th. Tampa and Naples tropical moisture surge likely by end of May, multi-day rainfall event possible. Bermuda, this one is specifically for you. Keep your head up for a possible tropical storm track. Bismarck and Billings record highs possible this week as the ridge builds north of the border. Minneapolis and Milwaukee pool opening week with 90-degree potential. Enjoy it while it lasts. Denver and Albuquerque cutoff low brings active weather midweek. Wind gusts possible Wednesday. Seattle and Portland wet today, then drying as the Pacific system shifts east and south. Kansas City and St. Louis mostly dry this week, then active again by June 6th. Dallas-Fort Worth, Tuesday storms arrive weakening overnight. Flooding risk extends through Wednesday. Houston, continuous heavy rain risk through the end of May, flooding possible multiple rounds. With this widespread multi-threat setup, here are your action items with specific deadlines. Midland, Odessa, Andrews, Texas vehicles undercover before noon Tuesday, no exceptions. Gulf Coast flash flood zone. Every flood-prone road in your area needs to be checked before Tuesday. South Florida and Florida Keys begin monitoring tropical development by Friday, May 29th. Turn around, don't drown water across any road is never worth the risk. Plain and simple. Phone alerts on full volume before you sleep overnight. Storm threats are real through Wednesday. Share this with someone in Texas, Alabama, Florida, or Kentucky before they head out tomorrow. A heads up from someone they trust beats 10 push notifications they will swipe right past. And now the good news I promised, and I do mean genuine, not softening the blow. The Omega Block means no major organized severe outbreak this week. That is genuinely good news. The cutoff low stays west, no Rockies ejection, no Plains outbreak through next weekend. For the northern tier, enjoy this pool opening week. These temperatures are rare and beautiful. And for the drought-stricken deep south, this rainfall pattern is drought-busting at its core. Back to those three opening numbers, 500,000 people Tuesday, 2,000 joules Gulf wide open. Arthur possibly forming before June 1st, 60 to 70 miles per hour winds in Permian Basin Tuesday evening. Those numbers tell two completely different stories happening at exactly the same time this week. Earl in Odessa vehicle covered before noon, shelter confirmed, phone charged before Tuesday storms. Margaret in Birmingham, 5 days without sun, soaked yard, but the block is breaking soon. Frank in Miami, shutters ready, generator fueled, watching the tropical development models closely. 3 people, 3 dangers, 2 storms rapidly coming together, 1 Omega Block about to break. Strange weather is about to grip this country. This is not the time to be unprepared. Drop your city one last time. I come back tonight with your specific local breakdown. Tomorrow's update brings fresh model data on Arthur and what the Omega Block break means exactly. Mark my words, when high pressure leaves the Gulf wide open, we will be talking about it. 2 storms are rapidly coming together, and the next 72 hours will tell us everything.